So it shows us also foreigners that are here, or yeah, that eventually, I mean, it is feasible. It is not very complicated to invest in here. I mean, we're neighbors, so we see you from, I mean, across the lake on the other side. So it's good to know. I'd like to come back quickly to Mr. Lado. I wanted to find out how difficult, I mean, what were the challenges? What are the challenges from Global Compact? Because we hear about it, and I must say, often what we hear from the private sector point of view is like, we don't know. The ones that know, and then the rest, eventually, it feels like it's a little private thing somewhere happening. But what are the challenges that you're actually facing, that or Global Compact in general is facing towards, members, delegates, and so on?
Thank you very much.
You've got 2 minutes.
For the question. That is exactly the point. And that is why I'm here, to get the Global Compact more known. And we are building our presence on the continent and different countries, expanding in Africa to reach more companies. At this stage, we have 1,000 companies in Africa. We are working with them, 1,000, and we have already reached about 40% of the top businesses of the continent. Now, the challenge is SMEs. Yeah. SMEs. We have a program that we are launching this year on supply chain of big companies, but an accelerator as well for SMEs with a tailored program for SMEs starting this year. So that is the way we will...
Starting here, Africa?
In Africa. Okay. In Africa, in the world, in fact, but there will be an Africa content of that program. So we'll communicate on that through our office here in Tanzania, led by my colleague Marsha, who is in the room. Now, let me close. I cannot leave this panel before I speak about what, from the UN perspective, is the elephant in the room. That is part of the challenge. It is the level of the ambitions that we have in terms of sustainability. What is the level of commitment that companies are taking? All companies are taking commitment, taking action at different levels. The point is the recent report of the UN Secretary General last year, as we are midway of the timeline of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, shows that we are very much late. 15% only of the SDGs are on track. 15%. 85% are either off track or have even reversed. On the SDG 8, for example, on decent work, there we have only achieved a fair progress. So you see, what is very important in this summit is lagging behind. So that is the challenge now, and this is why the Global Compact has launched last year on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in September, what we call Forward Faster. We need to move forward faster with businesses, with the private sector, in 5 areas that we have identified as bringing multiplying effect on the 17 SDGs. Climate action, gender equality, water resilience, living wage, finance. On living wage, for example, we are targeting with companies that join us on that by 20 living wage. This is clearly a debate that we need to have at the country level with partners. Social dialogue on living wage. I know that there are some countries that are still struggling on minimum wage, but with poverty that has reversed, that has increased, in fact. The SDGs on poverty, SDG 1, we really need to think of it for the sake of the well-being of the workers. So living wage, finance. Finance, for example, we need to increase, we need $3 to $5 trillion per year in the world to support the SDGs. And for this, regarding the topic, which is ours here, social partners, it is clearly also about attracting some of those funds to support, to attract top talented and purpose-driven talent in the companies, or and trend the existing workforce on sustainability. Because we need that everyone is on top of those issues as we go to 2030.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me stop here. Thank you so much.
I know it's challenging because we want to hear what you have to say, but then at the same time, there's also time. You know, I've got my timer on purpose. And yes, but by the way, to mention, I mean, quickly, I know that IOE is working because a playbook came out yesterday. We're working together, and I mean, IOE is working together because us as member, we actually do contributes on, you know, what is happening, etc. And that playbook, it's very interesting because it shows what we do for instance, with resident coordinators from each countries, and we've given examples, and because we know that we're not going to reach this SDG by 2030, it's more and more obvious, but still, you know, we still need to do everything we can. And a quick one to Ivana. Can I quickly ask you, like in a minute and a half, can you tell me what is your feeling about, let's just say the word that I don't really like, but about these LDCs countries that we actually are and represent? How do you feel we're getting there? I'd like to have you from UNCDF point of view because you are into it. Do you feel that from an innovating financing system, is it happening or it's just very specific in certain countries?
Definitely. I see it happening in many countries. I mean, I see South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, Kenya leading the way, of course. And I think it's just a matter of time. I think especially with and through some of these regional bodies and ACFTA, this will be a reality sooner or later. Doing business, especially cross-border, is going to require digitalization. So the sooner we all kind of get on board, the faster we'll get there.
Yeah, because you know that it is a major problem, obviously, in LDCs. Digitalization. Sometimes in Africa we do leapfrog indeed for certain things, but then at the same time, computer literacy is actually a problem. So, you know, we want to digitalize everything, but at the same time, half of them or more don't, I mean, many don't have PDAs, by the way, up until now.
However, I do think if the appropriate products and services are developed, people will use them.
Yes.
So maybe it's, you know, maybe we put it back on the innovators and the financial institutions to develop better, stronger, more adapted products and services.
More adapted. I like the word more adapted. Thank you very much. Michaela, I think maybe you have a last word for us? Yes? There's always plenty of ideas that come when you sit there, I know, so...
Well, I just want to say that, you asked if it is happening, and I would say yes, it is happening. I think Tanzania is getting there, maybe slower than we would like to, but it is getting there. I arrived in Tanzania 6 years ago, and things were, we didn't manage in the first 2 years, 3 years, we didn't manage to bring any international finance through our DFIs, Development Financial Institutions. In the last 2 years, we really have, I've mentioned just the biggest one, obviously, but there are other deals with the fund. There is money coming in the country. We're also working with the Capital Markets Authority. We promote alternative finance, and one way of alternative finance is innovative finance. We support crowdfunding. We support the fintechs regulation. So there are things happening. Yes, we'd like them to be faster, but it is what it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michaela. Mr. John, you being our host, we're going to give you the last word for the panel. Anything you'd like to share from this access to finance? You've said great things already, because even me as a sister from not far and as a foreigner here, I already feel comfortable thinking that, you know, investment can happen here and we kind of support it. I mean, we're there, you know.
What I would like to share with the participants is that for the potential investors who will be coming to Tanzania, in addition to the various incentives that we provide to new investment projects, but we do also provide special packages or special incentives to existing investments that are expanding.
That's good.
And investments that are doing the rehabilitation. So if it will happen that an investor has acquired a project that requires rehabilitation, then an investor should not hesitate to come to Tanzania Investment Center, because we will accommodate such kind of investment.
That is good news. Wow, that is a great word. Can we give them a round of applause for this, you know? That is, I think we're closing this panel on a very, very positive note. And I don't know if you, like me, heard and shared the fact that so many solutions are already available. We're speaking about Tanzania, but not only Tanzania. UNCDF is in different countries in Africa, obviously. So Global Compact, same, you know, they're getting more and more presence. And I think, yes, I think it is very positive. So how many minutes do we have for a few questions?
We can only, not a minute, but we can only take one or two questions.
One or two questions. Okay, all right. Okay, please, yes. One here and then another one. Vicente. Okay, I'm going to take you, but I need to have a female also, so please, it's going to be 3 questions, not even.
I just got a reminder we are running very badly.
Okay, well. Yes?
Thank
go
you very
ahead.
much. My name is David Jeng from the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Employers Association. Very good contributions from the panelists. Just wanted to add the issue of asset recycling and asset swap in the formal sector, because most of the time you realize that, you know, formal, you know, financiers will ask you for your land in order to give you, you know, funding. The informal ways, the VCs, the venture capitalists, mainly, they figure out what intellectual property do you have in order for them to, you know, finance your business. So, you know, one solution that can be very innovative is if the formal institutions can accept intellectual property as a means of access to finance in order for them to give you financing, it will be one way it can address the issue. Another aspect in terms of digital inclusion for digital financing is interoperability. You've mentioned 3 components, but interoperability is one way that can equally address the issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your contribution. And please, Vicente. You're going to speak in English, right? Otherwise, you're going to speak in Portuguese.
Okay, I will speak in English.
Yeah, we've got no translation.
Thank you for giving me the floor. I would like to make 2 questions. One of them to the speaker who talk about Global Compact.
Yeah, Dr. Lado, yeah.
We are talking about access to finance, which is a key issue for business people. So I would like, what is the criteria to assess this finance regarding the Global Compact? The other question, could we have a meeting, a virtual meeting between Global Compact and the Chamber of Commerce and the Industry of Angola, inviting some business people to attend this meeting? If so, we can organize it. Can I have your contact details so that I can call you later and we can organize that meeting?
Okay.
I would like to talk a little bit about the migration from informal to formal meeting, to formal business. So without money, without finance, we will not move forward. So we need to find out some money to help the young people moving from informal to formal market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vicente. And I think we might not have time now for our panelists to react, but it has been mentioned. We've been speaking about incubators, innovating financing, different type of access. So it has actually been mentioned specifically by UNCDF, and I believe also a bit the African Union. So there are ways actually. But since we really need to close and we won't have time to give the panel a word again, of course, feel free. They're here, we're in the room, we will be together for the next 2 days, actually, so we can actually, interact, okay? Well, thank you very much. Thank you, dear panel. Yes.
And let's put our hands together for the moderator as well. Well done. If all my moderators served me 5 minutes, I would have been the happiest man in the room. I still am, thanks to you. So we're going to do the final session for the day. Moderator, can you go inside? Can you stand in the middle? Yes, like that. No, no, no. We have the gents on the far ends and the ladies. Yeah. So we're going to have the final, looking onto the future of work, aspects of digitalization, automation, AI, and skills development. And this is to be moderated by Sanelisiwe. Is that you? Beautiful name. Social Policy Business Unity, all the way from South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause to the next moderator. Let's give her a lot of energy. This is the final one, and after this, we have wine and blankets. Or should I say wine and books? Okay, so after this, we're going to the dinner that has been organized for us. So let's give it our all. Thank you so much. The last smile.
Sorry, I'm quite tall. Yeah, perfect. Yes, perfect. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And it's such an honor for me to be here. My name is Sanelisiwe, and he's, as the moderator has just said. And thank you, everybody, for making it out on this momentous occasion. So I am going to call up my panel speakers, Mr. Adewale Oyerinde, the Director General for the Nigeria Employees Consultative Association. I hope I got that right. Mr. Christian Kalin Lubuva from AI AdTech Intelligence Compliance. He's the strategy consultant. Thank you very much. Ms. Lorraine Gilao, Chief Executive Officer of TIPME in Liberia. Thank you. And Ms. Nadia Eme, Cybersecurity Specialist at Microsoft. Thank you so much. So I have the almost impossible mammoth task of getting everybody out of here in max 40 minutes before Amadou comes and wraps up the evening. I'm going to be quite strict on time. I'm also going to be very, very rapid, and I'm hoping we can move along quite quickly. So we're going to speak about this very exciting, sometimes salacious topic of the future of work. We're going to talk about elements of the digital revolution. And in introducing this topic, I'm just hoping that you're going to start stoking your minds to think about what you're going to talk about at dinner later and not necessarily in this room. So the digital revolution, offering transformative global opportunities, presents unique challenges in developing regions, especially in Africa. I think we're all very much aware of that. The continent is grappling with a digital divide characterized by limited access to technology, a workforce with insufficient digital literacy and skills, and infrastructural constraints. Additionally, the emergence of artificial intelligence brings both potential benefits and challenges, such as the need for specialized skills to manage and leverage AI technologies effectively, and the risk of the widening gap, the technology gap between Africa and more developed regions. Addressing these issues aligns with several pertinent frameworks and action plans aimed at digital transformation in Africa, such as the AU's Digital Transformation Strategy for Africa, the World Bank's Digital Economy for Africa initiative, and the ITU initiatives for enhancing digital connectivity. These international frameworks emphasize the need for a collaborative approach involving governments, employers, workers, business organizations, and civil society. Strategic skills, expanding access to digital tools, and ensuring that technological advancements, including AI, contribute to productivity and economic growth. So in this session, we're going to delve into all of that, into these challenges, these problems. We're going to reference these frameworks. Africa can navigate its digital transformative journey, aiming for an outcome that is productive, very sustainable, and inclusive for its workforce. We're going to speak about how all of these issues are compounded by the current economic climate, et cetera, et cetera.
So, Mr. Adewale, I'm going to start with you. Considering the rapid pace of digitalization across global industries, how do you see this trend influencing the labor market in Africa, and what initiatives do you think are crucial to ensure that the workforce is prepared and adaptable to the evolving digital landscape?
Thank you, and good evening once again. First, let me commend the good work that has been put into organizing this. I remember a few years ago, we organized the 6th edition in Lagos, and it wasn't so easy. So congrats for a very successful seventh Social Partner Summit. For me, I think I will start with, sometimes we forget that the future that we're talking about is the tomorrow of today. So the future is not far, it's not a distant concept, it's just the tomorrow of today. And if we view it that way, then our approach to addressing this issue of digitalization, the issue of workforce preparedness, will probably change. And for a business, it's first about improving operational efficiency. Except you are running a social enterprise or you are running a socially inclined business, then profits should also be part of the things that you'll be concerned with. So within the context of that, operational efficiency, profit remains very paramount in the context of the business. Then for the employee, it's to a large extent, you deal with the basic issues, you deal with the fundamental issues about the concerns of workers, the concerns of the families. And in all these, technology has come to, and digitalization has come to play its role. Someone said you change two ways. You either change by inspiration or you are changed by circumstances. So digitalization, AI, all those concepts, all those realities, they've come basically to change the way we do things. So it's no more about options, it's no more about whether I want to do it or whether I don't want to do it. And the world being a global village, for a business, it's not about competitiveness. You can't stay within the context of your locals or your country and say, look, this is how I want to operate. So as digitalization affects the global community, definitely is going to affect your operation. So for us, basically, and just going straight to the point, I think the first way to address the issue is basically to invest in infrastructures. Infrastructure remain a very critical element within the context of upscaling yourself as a business, and also upskilling your employees. So digital infrastructure is very key for us. And then the second is building the capacity of the workforce. You do those two, then we probably will be in a path towards growth or navigating towards growth. It's a two-edged sword for all of us. For a business membership organization like us, technology, digitalization, they create a different dynamics. Because for those organizations that have really gone digital, then you really need to start redefining your value proposition. Because the traditional services you render to them, the traditional services you give that are support-based to those organizations, the more they digitalize, the more they go AI, the less the value of your former value proposition. And for the workers, if you don't upskill, the changing in skill, the needs for change in skill will render some of them basically redundant. So for all of us, it's more of a double-edged sword within the context of digitalization and AI incursion into the workplace. But first of all, I think we must deal with the issue of infrastructure. Once we deal with that, then we are positioned to start talking within the context of upskilling or reskilling for the generality of the workers.
Thank you. You've mentioned upskilling of workers, you have mentioned investment in infrastructure, and I think at least for a lot of countries in this room, I certainly am speaking for South Africa, that is the word of the day, that is the song of the day, that we need to keep reiterating and keep making sure that that word and that conversation is definitely in the room. Thank you very, very much for that comprehensive reply. Mr. Christian Kalin Lubuva, I'm going to head over to you. So we're going to talk now about this digital divide and how it's actually affecting education and the workforce training. And as a strategy consultant, with expertise in both artificial intelligence and edutech. How do you recommend that these African organizations, and we're obviously talking including social partners because that's what we're actually doing here today, address the digital divide in education and the workforce training? Can you give us some strategic approaches to effectively integrate AI, different technologies, without alienating the current workforce? Thanks.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, yeah, the journey of AI just took off and gained speed since last year, and especially in these months. Big players like Apple, Samsung, etc. Integrate AI tools in their devices. So especially the challenges for skills development in Africa are multifaceted. So the rapid pace of technological advancement means that the workforce must continuously adapt to new tools and methodologies. There is a pressing need for digital literacy and specialized skills, especially in AI, especially in data analysis, and also in cybersecurity. Yet the digital divide exacerbates these challenges, with many young people at this wonderful continent lacking access to basic internet services and being in need of digital devices. For example, handheld computers or good smartphones for students. This divide not only hinders educational opportunities, but also limits the potential for remote work and entrepreneurship in the digital economy. To address these challenges, a collaborative and multifaceted approach is essential. For employers, it is crucial to invest in ongoing training and development programs. Embracing a culture of learning and innovation will not only enhance productivity, but also ensure that the employees remain competitive in the evolving job market. Employers should partner with educational institutions, for example, linking universities with the needs of the businesses, and with technology providers to offer apprenticeships and internships that provide practical, hands-on experience with new technologies. Also, governments play a pivotal role in shaping the future of work through policy and, as my colleague also already said, in infrastructure. Investing in digital infrastructure is a critical first step to bridging the connectivity gap. Governments also must reform educational curricula to include digital skills, maybe already from early stage. The science is not yet decided, ensuring that the workforce is prepared for the jobs of tomorrow. Furthermore, policies that promote innovation, support startups, facilitate the adoption of new technologies, can drive economic growth and create new employment opportunities. Last but not least, the workers' organizations and unions must advocate for the rights and interests of workers in this new digital age. This includes negotiating for fair wages, job security, and especially access to training and development, keywords, reskilling, upskillings. Workers' organizations should also be involved in discussions about ethical AI and the implications of automation on employment, ensuring that the transition to a more digital economy is inclusive and equitable. So finally, addressing these issues of the digital divide requires concerted efforts from all the mentioned stakeholders.
Thank you. Very, very insightful. Thanks. I'm going to hop over to the next speaker, but only because I think there's an immediate connect, and our previous moderator is going to be very pleased with the next question because it speaks to financial access. So I'm going to go to Ms. Lorraine Gilao, Chief Executive Officer at TIP in Liberia. Can you just tell us what TIP in Liberia is, and can you please share insights on how your organization has worked to provide financial access and support to local entrepreneurs, and what impact this has had on Liberia's economy as a whole?
It's a big question, but so Tip Me Liberia is a wallet, a digital wallet, where users can send and receive funds, receive international remittance, make bill payments, and so on. We've been in operation for about 3 years now, and we are governed by the mobile money guidelines in Liberia, so which means that The lowest access to a wallet just simply means you provide us with your basic details, name, phone number, and so on. So that, encourages financial inclusion for all, even though transaction limits are lower at that threshold. In terms of what we've been able to do for access to finance, our central bank just issued digital credit guidelines in the country, which has enabled digital wallets like ours to issue loans. The threshold is very low, so this is targeted to very small SMEs or MSMEs. The maximum amount of the loan is currently $400. We just started issuing these loans last month, and we're the first institution to do so. And as we're in our pilot phase, our target has been our agent network. We found that that is who our main client is. As we build the TipMe network in the country, we have individuals who sign up for the wallet, but we have found that because access to data is such a challenge, that most customers, even if they do have the TipMe app on their phone, maybe they do not have access to data at the time. We're in a situation where a lot of users do not consistently have data on their phone. Data is very expensive. They may have a smartphone, but their phone is not accessing data. So how do they access our services? They do so through an agent. So for every TipMe employee that we have about 30 employees in-house, we have at least 50 agents to each of those employees. So we have, we're in that way able to support the informal sector because our agents are considered to be informal. And these digital loans that we're now able to provide are loans that they would not have otherwise have access to. It's very difficult for the informal sector to access loans. And because they are our agents, because we have data on them, because they have been transacting within the TipMe system for a while, we're able to build that trust. Somebody mentioned the trust needed for the financial institution. We're able to build that trust and issue them the loans that they need to either grow or sustain their business. So we're very excited about what that can do for the country. And we look forward to issuing more over a longer term, but right now we're in a bit of a pilot phase and testing out how the loan product works.
Thank you. I must say, when you started saying tip me, I wasn't sure, and I must say that's very clever and quirky, and kudos to you guys for coining that. I'm going to be a little bit unruly and ask you to just keep the mic, and can you just tell us a little bit more about your challenges, specifically since you cater to SMMEs and MSEs, in terms of what was mentioned by a previous speaker, Mr. Lubuva, in terms of upskilling. And I think in the room, what we want to know, and I think the rest of the continent, is how do we do this? We're speaking about building the infrastructure, we're speaking about upskilling, we're speaking about reskilling, doing. And I think you've got practical examples you could share. I'm going to give you about 60 seconds, and I'll ask you to shoot immediately.
Okay, we have quite a few challenges. One I would say is definitely access to data, like I mentioned, where when we first launched, we started in Montserrado, the capital, Monrovia, the capital of Liberia. And as we've expanded into the counties, we found that access to data is an even greater challenge. And definitely the skills mismatch. Because we're a country that came out of war about 20 years ago, we're also, still feeling the effects of that. And our education system is not as strong as we would like it to be. And we have a very hard time finding talent. We spend a lot of time cultivating talent in-house and training and development and so on. We're not able to find the right skill level for the jobs that we're looking for, so that's an issue. And even at right now, Liberia has a lot of technical institutions or people who are studying IT. Even within that space, we still are not finding the right type of talent. So I think just to keep it short, I would say the access to data and finding the right skills.
Thank you. Talent, critical skills, and the list goes on. Thank you very much. I must say, I think I have the best panel so far. We're going to head over to our last panelist. Ms. Nadia, I just want to know from your perspective as a cybersecurity specialist, very nifty title, by the way, what are the key security challenges and considerations that African nations should prioritize in their journey towards digitalization and ultimately embracing artificial intelligence?
Okay, so I get the hardest question. We talked about infrastructure, skilling, and so on, but for me it's really about the infrastructure, because while the infrastructure at the moment is holding the continent, we are looking to innovate, but we're still being attacked because our infrastructures are not built for the modern world we live in today. So let's say, in example, across the continent, a cyber attack, 2,164 cyber attacks, known attacks, happen per week. And those that we don't know about are added to that number. So this remains the fact that there's so many work to do. We have to do it on different levels. We have to currently keep the current infrastructure we have, uphold, innovate, and put in place the necessary technologies like AI to keep us in the future, and also find the right skill sets of people to be able to do all three things. So that is one of the biggest issues that I see, and it's not just here, it's everywhere. Because in 2019, when COVID happened, there was a mass transformation that happened. Everybody had to go work from home. Most people had to go work from home, right? Except doctors and nurses. But so what did companies do? We quickly transformed our way of working. We put everybody home, we built the servers, we opened up all our servers, and we said, okay, now you have a direct connection to the company's resources. But they did it so fast that they left loopholes where attackers could come in and access data and disrupt people joining Zoom meetings. Why are you, who are you? An attacker just basically eavesdropping. You know, companies, employees leaking company intellectual information online because they do not have the necessary awareness and training behind this cyber hygiene training. So basically to say that, I was reading a report the other day that said that COVID actually accelerated a transformation that should have taken between 10 to 15 years. So it would have taken us 10 to 15 years to work from home, to create this infrastructure, to be able to provide this level of way of working in terms of digitalization, but also cybersecurity. But we only did it in 2 years, so we did it because we had to, but then now we kind of have to work on the loopholes that are there to secure them, to make sure that while we move forward and start implementing technologies like AI, that will not come back and kind of kick us in the behind because we did not implement the right way.
Thank you.
And the last is skilling.
Yes, please.
So just to touch, skilling is one of my favorite subjects. 4 years ago, I was in Lagos, and I talked about how I self-taught myself to become a developer, right? And AI was one of the things when I wrote a code. I told AI to write a code. ChatGPT, write me a code. It wrote me an entire code that a developer would have done. And we say, this is bad, because hey, I will no longer have a job as a developer. But it's not really about AI replacing a human. We are living in a world where we are in a génération tout de suite. I don't know how to translate. Génération tout de suite. Our demand for innovation is too fast, too rapid for us to be able to follow through. And this is where AI comes in, because it's a co-pilot. It's kind of like, you know, you have a pilot and you have a co-pilot. Someone who is there to support you in delivering this transformation. So in COVID, I had a transformation where I used to be a developer, I used to give people workshops, and then COVID shut down. I kind of didn't have a job. I was like, let me see what I can do, because one of my friends said, yeah, but you know, you don't have a degree. No corporation will hire you in any corporate environment because you don't have a degree and technically you're self-employed. I was like, okay. So I learned cybersecurity on YouTube. Went on YouTube, did a cybersecurity course, and then I went to Microsoft and they hired me. So that is not one of the things that I tell people to leverage, the fact that technology today provides you access to resources and information that we can teach our youths to gain access to high-paying jobs in high-paying companies like Microsoft, or here, or because Microsoft is investing in Africa. We are currently building data centers here. Facebook is building data centers here. Who are they going to hire to maintain that infrastructure and secure them?
Thank you.
Yeah.
You made a very important observation about how COVID necessarily accelerated the rate at which this continent was growing, and I think that's probably the crowning definition of what we're talking here. The future of work is here. It's not necessarily in the future. So thank you very much. I'm not going to touch your statements on some misconceptions about what AI really is and really isn't. I'd like the crowd to start thinking about that, because I think when it comes to artificial intelligence, that's what everybody's trying to ask. That is the question on everybody's minds. But thank you, very insightful. And thank you to this panel for giving me great answers to work with. So we've got in excess of 8 minutes before we step off the stage. And I'd like to use these 8 minutes to field 2 questions from the crowd. And before we hand over the mic, please make sure that they are absolutely burning. They're not the kind of question that you can accost one of our panel speakers with at dinner and would need ventilation in this room. Any takers? We've got one here. And can we have a roving mic, please?
Thank you very much. The issue is not really AI, but generative AI. So my question is, we've started seeing countries accepting AIs as inventors, as citizens. For example, Saudi Arabia, South Africa. Now, I want to hear your perspective in terms of skills development and future of work. Do you think African countries should accept AI as citizens to be able to do work that is meant for human beings? Thank you.
Thank you. Eska?
Thank you. Quite insightful. Liberia initiatives on your digital wallets. My question is, how have you managed to go around, issues associated with connectivity, which are topical issues in Africa? The second one is also on your talent. You mentioned that Liberia, you somehow have a problem in terms of, the right skills. The question is, how are your migration laws structured? Do you attract, migrants coming to your country so that you'll be in a position to overcome that problem? Thank you.
Thank you. I think let's start with the first answer that was asked by the gentleman. Very loaded AI question, so all the best with that. Would you like to take it? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Lubuva.
Yes, that's an interesting observation, and I gave 2 examples of nowadays challenges. The first example is the teacher who gets answers generated by AI. So it needs a lot of brain and new techniques how to, okay, you can ban AI out of the classroom, but maybe that is not the solution for the future. So how to challenge the kids producing some AI-produced texts that they reflect, that they use the brain. I give an example from my own business. I have a very polite business partner from Middle East, and I started with him to work in last September, and I was always puzzled how fast and how polite his answers are. And after 1 or 2 months, I realized all these answers are produced by ChatGPT or by AI tool. So meanwhile, I think I'm not more talking with a human being, I'm more talking with a computer, and I challenge him to make video calls that I see emotions and I get real answers and reflections, because I realized there is a lot of escaping when it comes to decisions or own observations, etc., etc. So we have completely, especially in management and consulting, we have new challenges. And AI is here, we cannot neglect it, and I think it's a huge potential for all the bright brains and young academics and also the people who make our own career at this fascinating continent. I remember the first reaction in an industrialized country with an old tradition like Italy was to ban ChatGPT. Another state, I think it's Montana in the US, has banned TikTok. I think that's not the solution. We have to tackle these modern challenges and to grow with it and to grow with the opportunities with these new technologies.
Thanks very much. We had 2 questions from Neska.
The first was about accessing data. This is a serious challenge for us. And the way we are trying to work around it is to also gain access to USSD. So if you're familiar, USSD is that star number hash menu that people who do not have data have access to. Right now in our country, the MNOs have a monopoly on USSD, which is something that should be owned by the government. So they're in the process of putting in place regulations that will give more fair access to USSD for us to have access to that. And the second question was about our laws in terms of having, immigration laws that would allow for, us to have expats. That is also a challenge in Liberia. There is a very high cost to having expats work at your company, not only in terms of, the financial aspect, it's quite frowned upon. So it makes it quite challenging for a new business to, bring in that type of talent, both financially and just in terms of the red tape that's surrounded around it. We just had a new government put in place, so we look forward to working with them on these challenges.
Thank you very, very much. So now we're going to build the plane while it's flying and ask our panel speakers to say their final words outside of this room when they chat to the people, the social partners rather, that are here, and not necessarily lend you 5 more minutes for final words. I hope you will bear with me. Thank you very much. This was an excellent, excellent panel. Truly enjoyed myself. I hope you did too. Thank you to the crowd. And before I step off the stage, if you do watch football, I hope we're all rooting for the country, South Africa. But in any case, thank you everyone for having us. And thank you to the organizers as well as to the interpreters. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Nam, ndivyo wanavyo katika kutoa darasa hilo ambalo naamini sasa umefahamu.
Thank you very much.
Elimu, majadiliano yalikuwa yanafanyika hapa baada ya uzinduzi ambao ulifanywa na makamu wa rais Dr. Philip Isdori Mpango. Kilichofuata basi ni waendeshaji mjadala mada mbalimbali kuingia mezani na paneli yao na kujadili basi masuala mbalimbali ambayo bila shaka mtazamaji wetu umeyavuna na umefaidi na upo tayari sasa kwenda kukabiliana na yale ambayo yapo katika jamii kupitia hiki ambacho tumeambiwa hapa.
Putting us out of the restaurant. Indeed, it's never an easy task to discuss such important topics when we have a time limit. But please keep in mind that it's a continuing continuous discussion. We will continue later today, we'll continue tomorrow. My name is Amadou Sako. I am IOE's advisor for Africa. And as day one comes to a close, I extend a heartfelt thank you from the IOE, from the Association of Tanzania Employees, and our partners. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for your patience. Thanks to all the speakers. Thanks to all the speakers, the panelists, the moderators, the speakers during the opening remarks. The day has been very rich in discussion. Her high expectation have not only been met, they have been exceeded. And thanks to the depth of knowledge, again, of all our speakers. So we started the day today with the topic of social dialogue, which is an extremely important topic. Social dialogue is a powerful tool. And I believe that we all agree now that there is a need to reinforce social dialogue on our continent. We continued with the different challenges of a job, of the labor market on our continent, all being interlinked from the challenge of informality.
which I often say I believe is one of the most underestimated socio-economic challenge at the global level and in Africa, especially on a continent where about 90% of the workers are into the informal sector. As I was saying, informality is linked to many other challenges: access to finance, low productivity, topics that have been discussed today. This is not the end. So let's keep the same energy for tomorrow, for those who will be with us, for our focused working group on specific topics. And for those who will not be joining us tomorrow, thank you again for this day, and we look forward for future collaboration. Now, I would like to end on the very, very, very extremely serious note. As you know, she referred to it quickly, Sane from South Africa. Currently, the African Cup of Nations soccer is taking place in Abidjan. Tonight, South Africa is playing against Nigeria, and Côte d'Ivoire is playing against DRC. May the best win. Thank you very much.
So let's put our hands together for all of us for a very active participation. We've come to the end of day one, and we're now going, we have about 30 minutes. That should take us about the time that should take us to, for those of us who are walking to Rotana, it should take us about 10-15 minutes walk. If you're driving, it should take us about 5 minutes. So if you're going through your hotel, gents who want to remove, there's no tie after 5. If you want to remove your tie, but you can still come with your tie for dinner. Now, the session tomorrow will not be happening here. It will be happening at the Rotana. So it's important that you do not miss the dinner, so at least you know where the sessions will be taking place. Otherwise, I thank you for your great cooperation on behalf of the organizing team, and I wish you all a fruitful stay in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and we'll see you next time. See you at the dinner. Au revoir. DJ, some music.
Hakika imekuwa ni siku nzuri, siku yenye kufurahisha kwa kile ambacho kimefanyika hapa. Siku ya kwanza imekuwa ni siku ambayo watu wamefurahi, watu wamejifunza mengi. Hakika ate wamewashibisha mengi watu kwa kuandaa tamasha hili ama mkutano huu mkubwa ambao wadau wamezungumza mengi. Wadau wamezungumza kuhusiana na hali halisi ilivyo. Wadau wamezungumza mikakati ambayo inakwenda kutengeneza njia ama fursa za upatikanaji wa ajira, ambapo siku hii ya kwanza tu masomo mbalimbali yametolewa ambayo yamekwenda sasa kunoa bongo na watu wakafahamu ni kwa jinsi gani na kwenda kukabiliana na hali ilivyo. Umesikia kwamba tatizo la ajira kwa Afrika, vijana zaidi ya milioni 72 wanapitia changamoto hii ya ukosefu wa ajira, lakini fursa mbalimbali sasa zinakwenda kutengenezwa kwa ajili ya kutatua kile ambacho kimefanyika. Mkutano huu ni kukumbushe kwamba ni kwa mara ya kwanza unafanyika Afrika Mashariki na ni kwa mara ya kwanza unafanyika Tanzania. Sasa unaona ukubwa wa tukio hili na jinsi ambavyo Tanzania imebahatika kuwa sehemu ya mkutano huu mkubwa. Sasa baada ya kufahamu hivyo, kesho pia mjadala utaendelea hapa. Kesho pia itaendelea katika ukumbi mwingine, haya kuendelea kutaka kujua nini ambacho kinaenda kujadiliwa zaidi. Kesho tutakujuza pia kile ambacho tunajijua, lakini kwa sasa tutaenda kuzungumza na baadhi ya watu ambao wameshiriki katika mkutano huu. Sir, good evening. Good evening. Are you good?
Very good, yeah? Very interesting.
How can you talk about this meeting?
It's a very important get-together. The whole continent is here, even some guests from outside of the continent. And you know, this social dialogue has a huge tradition, and it's so important that the worker committees, worker unions, the employers' organizations and the government talk together and bring the society forward.
The issue of employment in Africa is a big problem. How can you solve this?
Procurement. Yeah, procurement is a big issue. There are, of course, rules. There should be objectivity, that the best offer wins with the best price, and there should be like a 6 eyes principle, that nobody is undergoing the rules. And so public procurement is a very huge factor, and it's very important that this is compliant with the rules of the country.
And how can you rate Africa according to this meeting? Maybe how can you rate Africa?
I say there are so many talented youngsters. I live in Africa now for 4 years, and I met many young academics, even dropout, who built their own business. These new technology tools, WhatsApp Business, Instagram, TikTok, etc., are new platforms to market services. And I wish them good luck, and that they don't give up with the bureaucracy and the forms, that they pull it through and create a business and bring back some wealth to the families, to the community, and to the society.
Are you happy to be here? Are you happy to be here?
Very much. I like very much Tanzania. Salaam is one of my favorite cities. There's a good spirit, there is peace, very friendly people, great food, and the ocean is always a fantastic scenario.
Where you come from, by the way?
I'm coming from Switzerland.
Switzerland. Wow, go and greet them. Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Umemsikia akizungumza pia kile ambacho Afrika inakipitia. Amesema kwamba Afrika kwa sasa inakwenda kupiga hatua. Afrika kwa sasa nayo pia inakwenda kujipambanua kupitia teknolojia ambayo pia Afrika imefika. Kwa hiyo hawana mashaka na Afrika kwa kile ambacho kinakwenda kufanyika. Bado tunaendelea kuzungumza na wadau wengine ambao wanakuja kutuambia faida za kongamano hili ama mkutano huu ambao umefanyika na heshima ambayo Tanzania imepata kuandaa mkutano mkubwa kama huu. Ni kwa namna gani wanajivunia, lakini pia ni kwa namna gani wanajipanga sasa hii yule ambaye ameandaa. Siku zote tunaomba kwamba mcheza kwao hutunzwa. Kwa namna gani Tanzania kwa mwenyeji wa mkutano huu anakwenda kunufaika? Kwa namna gani ate wao wanaona nafasi ya Tanzania kwenda kunufaika na hiki ambacho kimefanyika hapa? Na muona afisa mtendaji mkuu wa ate amefika hapa, anakuja kutuambia pia faida ambazo wameziona baada ya siku hii tu ya kwanza, lakini pia ni faida gani ambayo Tanzania itafuata, kama vile inavyosema dhana kwamba mcheza kwao siku zote hutunzwa. Mcheza kwao siku zote hutunzwa, na imefanyika hapa kwa mara ya kwanza, lakini pia kwa mara ya kwanza Afrika Mashariki. Kwanza tuanze hapa, tunajivunia vipi kama Tanzania kuandaa kama hili?
Tunajivunia kama nchi kwanza, unapopata wageni kama hivi, manake kwanza kama nchi imeaminika. Lakini kama sisi chama cha waajiri Tanzania, mkutano huu ambao tumeweza kuratibu kama wenyeji pamoja na shirikisho la umoja wa waajiri duniani, tunajiona kwamba shirikisho la umoja wa waajiri duniani, sisi tukiwa kama wanachama wao, wametuamini ate na wameiamini Tanzania kuja kufanya mkutano huu. Mkutano huu kama ambavyo tulisema hapa asubuhi, umeshirikisha wadau mbalimbali wa sekta ya kijamii, kwa maana ya kwamba vyama vya waajiri, lakini vyama vya wafanyakazi pamoja na mashirika ya kimataifa kutoka nchi mbalimbali kutoka Afrika na zaidi. Hapa kumekuwa na mataifa zaidi ya 38 mpaka 40 ambao wameweza kushiriki mkutano huu. Kwa asubuhi tuliweza kufungua mkutano ambapo tulikuwa na Mheshimiwa Makamu wa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania Dr. Philip Mpango alitufungulia rasmi mkutano huu. Tulikuwa na waziri wa nchi ambaye anashughulikia masuala ya kazi ya ajira na wenye ulemavu. Na baada ya hapo tuliweza kuendelea pamoja na majadiliano mbalimbali, kama ambavyo mmeweza kuona kwamba kumekuwa na majadiliano mbalimbali. Tumeweza kujadiliana masuala mbalimbali yanayohusiana na teknolojia, hasa masuala mazima yanayohusu akili bandia na jinsi gani yanaweza kuleta changamoto katika ulimwengu wa ajira. Lakini pia tumeweza kuzungumzia mambo kuhusu sekta isiyokuwa rasmi katika maeneo ya kazi na masuala mazima ya kutokupatikana kwa ajira katika bara la Afrika. Lakini pia tumeweza kuzungumzia jinsi gani ambavyo masuala mazima yanayohusiana na upatikanaji wa fedha, masuala mazima ya ujuzi katika masuala mazima ya biashara. Na kwa kuwa mkutano huu umejumlisha waajiri, kwa sababu vyama vya waajiri, kumbuka huu ni mfungamano wa biashara mbalimbali, na ukiweka na vyama vya wafanyakazi, basi mazungumzo haya yameleta tija zaidi. Kwa hiyo kwa sasa hivi tumeweza kufunga mkutano, na kesho tutaazimia kwamba kuangalia nyuma tuliyojadili leo na kuja sasa na mapendekezo mbalimbali, ili tutakapoweza kupanga tuweze kutoka na mapendekezo mbalimbali ambayo tutaweza kutoka nayo.
Kwa siku hii ya kwanza tu watu wameonekana wakitabasamu sana kwa wale ambao wameyapata. Natamani kujua kama mwenyeji Tanzania, ni kwa namna gani ile dhana ya mcheza kwao hutunzwa tunakwenda kunufaika, kwa namna gani sasa changamoto ya ajira, changamoto ambazo kwa makazini zinakwenda kuondolewa kutokana na hiki ambacho kimefanyika hapa leo na kesho itaendelea?
kila mkutano, kwa mfano dhima yote ya mkutano wa 7 wa Afrika kuhusiana na sekta za kijamii. Kumbuka mkutano huu unafanyika, huu ni mara ya 7 toka ilivyoanzishwa mikutano hii na Umoja wa Ajiri pamoja na Umoja wa Ulaya. Lakini niseme tu kwamba lengo dhima zaidi ya mkutano huu ilikuwa kujadili masuala mazima ya utengenezaji wa ajira kupitia wadau hawa katika makundi na masomo hayo tofauti tofauti ambayo nimeyataja hapo awali. Sasa kwa sisi kuwa kama wenyeji, kwanza kuthaminiwa kufanya mkutano ni jambo moja, lakini unaposhirikisha wadau kama hawa wanajadili masuala msingi kama haya, na kumbuka kwamba Afrika tumejaliwa kuwa na rika ambalo lina umri mdogo, na hawa ndio waajiriwa wa sasa lakini waajiriwa wa baadaye. Hivyo basi kuna haja ya kujiandaa kutokana na changamoto, lakini kujitia shime kwa ajili ya jinsi gani tunaweza tukakabiliana na masuala mbalimbali kama haya yanayohusiana na changamoto za akili bandia, lakini kuangalia ni jinsi gani tunaweza tukajifunza. Kwa hiyo umeona hapa wataalamu wameweza kubadilishana mawazo na kuangalia ni vitu gani ambavyo tunaweza tukavichukua kuvipeleka mbele. Umewasikia viongozi wa vijana kutoka mashirika mbalimbali ya kimataifa wakizungumzia kuhusu changamoto za vijana na sekta ya ajira. Kwa hiyo hayo yote ni masuala ambayo yamezungumzwa katika mkutano. Sisi kama wenyeji tumeweza kupata ujuzi, lakini pia tumepata pia kuchangia, kwa sababu tulikuwa pia na washiriki wetu kutoka nchini Tanzania ambao wameshiriki kwenye midahalo, na huo ndio uchangiaji wetu katika nani. Lakini kuandaa mkutano pia, lakini ukiachilia mkutano huu ukifanyika nchini, kumbuka kwamba kuna watu watatumia, watakula, watakunywa, lakini watafanya na utalii pia. Kwa hiyo pia ni faida mojawapo ya mkutano huu kufanyika na kuitangaza Tanzania kwa kiasi kikubwa.
Tunakwenda kumaliza. Nimesoma ripoti ile ya shirika la kazi